Welcome back to Alternative Spring Break, brought to you by Words, Beats, and Life. I'm Corbin, and I'm sitting with a very special guest today on this Philly edition of Alternative Spring Break. Visionary the poet.
Pew, 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 pew.
Sound effects. Pew, pew. So let's just jump right into it. Why Visionary the poet? You could have put anything in front of the poet. Why Visionary?
I chose the name Visionary because I wanted to remind myself constantly through my artist name to see beyond the confines of what society has placed before me.
Wow. And what's your biggest inspiration when it comes to writing right now? And performing, because you do perform.
My biggest inspiration, like person-wise, might have to be Steven Willis. Steven Willis is phenomenal, he's legendary, but also like he's really a craftsman. You know what I mean? Like he puts his whole heart and soul into what he does from an acting perspective and also from the writing perspective.
That's awesome. And what's the impact you want to leave as a writer?
I want my work to be authentic. I want for people to feel seen for the thing that they were afraid to say when they hear me perform.
You are not just a poet and a performer of poetry as a spoken word artist, you're also a law student.
Yeah.
How do these two worlds interlock and meet at an intersection of productivity? Like, how do you do this?
Yeah, well, law school is a whole different type of writing, right? A whole different side of the brain. But I do think that being a lawyer, like actually presenting a case, is poetry. It's a performance. Like, the person who wins in court is not the person with the best case, right? It's the person who presented the best. It's the person who's the most convincing.
And ain't that poetry right now? Especially in spoken word. It's about how can you curate this concept and relay it in a way that leaves people awestruck in some way.
Absolutely.
What's the impact that you want to make in this world of spoken word and in poetry?
The impact that I want to make is I want to create streams of consciousness. So every time that I speak, I want the room to be made better than it would have been prior to me speaking. And better doesn't mean this viewpoint is better. Better just means it gets people thinking about things outside of what they would ordinarily think. So appreciate a new perspective. Hear something that makes you think, maybe I can be my authentic self today. You know what I mean? Like, hear something that makes you think, I'm not alone. There's other people out here feeling like this.
So when I ask you to remove your past traumas and to place your insecurities in the bin, don't look so surprised. As if the metal detector didn't go off when you stepped through it. As if the metal staples holding your heart together aren't proof of the 9/11 memorial that some ex has made of you. See, you know firsthand.
How long have you been performing? Like, you've been writing forever, but how long have you been getting on stages and rocking them out?
You know what's interesting though? I didn't actually start writing as a poet though. I was journaling. Like, I was like, oh, let me try this new thing. I was going through some things. And then I remember reading my journal entry out loud and I was like, oh, this is kind of hot. And I literally turned it into a poem and I shared it I'm in a sorority, so I shared it at one of our events and people loved it. And then that was the first time that I was like, okay, maybe I could do this thing and maybe I can start sharing my work. So I started intentionally writing and curating my authentic truths into poems. And I would say 5 years ago was my first performance. I sucked low-key. Like, I look at the video now and I'm like, I was kind of buns, but people supported me. And to this day, I still don't know if they supported me because they like me or because it was good, but it's good to them. Because you know we're our harshest critics.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been performing for like 5 years. And then I would say during the pandemic, when I decided to leave my job, that's when I did poetry full time, and that's when I became legit. So like 2 years.
So 2 years legit, 5 years experience.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's some of the coolest things that have happened so far in this journey?
I've had 2 poems go viral.
Okay, what does that mean? What does it mean to have 2 poems go viral?
More people are now hearing me and seeing me.
Okay.
Naturally, that means more opportunities, which has been great. Shout out to Rec Philly, shout out to Voices in Power, because the first one was a Voices in Power video. The second one was a Poetry Me Please video. But yeah, it started here at Rec. So it was just affirming. It was like, oh, like people actually resonate with my heart and soul that I just poured across this page.
Powerful. That's powerful. That's powerful, man. It's like, it's so, you can feel it coming off your spirit. You have such a gentle and strong soul, which is hard to find. And you can like see the humanity in your words. Like I'm listening, but I can see the intentionality in how you approach even speaking and communicating. And that's something that we don't get to see in the world that's moving very, very fast. For the young people that's going to see this, what advice do you have to them as young writers, whether they're in journalism, whether they're in poetry, whether they're just free writing to get something off their chest? What is it that you want to share with them?
Well, don't chase virality, chase consistency. I think that's the biggest thing. We're living in a social media driven era where like everything is how many likes, how much engagement, how many, I'm competing with all of this other artistry on the internet. And you focus a little less on that and more on your truth, more on your craft, more on becoming a better writer, a better poet, whatever that looks like and feels like for you. I think naturally you draw in exactly who you're meant to. Align yourself with things that make sense for you. Don't align yourself with everything that comes your way. Especially when you start to gain traction, it may feel good like, oh, this is money, but not all money is good money, in my opinion. It's gotta make sense, it's gotta align, it's gotta be something that's on brand and in alignment with your values.
Is there anything coming up? Like a writer's summit?
Yes.
Anything coming up that you want to share with the people that are going to watch this video?
So I do have a really big event coming up that I'm super excited for that, as you know, we've been working really hard. Shout out to my team. My team is literally the foundation for everything. The SMS Poetry Summit. SMS stands for Stretch My Stanzas. And we will be hosting a 3-day poetry summit that is inclusive of panels, workshops, live performances, a Poetry After Dark open mic experience, a slam competition, the whole 9.
All right, how do people get in touch with you?
Visionary the Poet on Instagram and TikTok, a Visionary Writes on Twitter.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a blessing to have this conversation with you. Thank you for sitting with us, listening to this amazing conversation with Visionary the Poet on Alternative Spring Break, brought to you by Words, Beats, and Life. Go follow her on all her platforms, and see you soon. Peace.